That's awesome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me, please?
Yeah, we can, essentially.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yes, we
So
can.
thank you for having me. Thank you, Dr. Levi, for the privilege to moderate this session. I don't take it for granted. I'm very honored to be doing this. And thank you all for being here, esteemed doctors, fellows, professors. You're all an inspiration from afar. So I am just very happy to be in your presence. And thank you to our students who are in our midst, to our fellows, our potential fellows, everyone who has taken time out of their busy day to be here. We appreciate you, we acknowledge you, and thank you for being here. So first, I would like to acknowledge our leaders, our executives of the African chapter of the AO. You are doing an amazing work. So thank you. We recognize it and we do not take it for granted. Thank you for your selfless service. I would also want to congratulate every single fellow here, especially those who became fellows at this year's academy. Your hard work has paid off. So a huge congratulations to all of you. We are just really happy to have you in this family. And to our potential fellows, our candidates for fellowship, everyone here who is interested in the fellowship and would want to know more about it. I was you just last year, so you are in the right place. And trust me, you would definitely receive all the information you need in this session. So thank you for being here. So my name is Asantua. I'm going to be your moderator for today. And this is going to be our outline for today's workshop. First, we would like to, you're going to take an opening prayer by a Muslim, and we do this because we want to be tolerant of every person's faith. And usually we assume that the majority of us here are either Christians or Muslims. So if you're neither, we would like to extend an apology to you, but our opening prayer will be by a Muslim and our closing prayer will be by a Christian so that everyone feels included. And our associate professor Bernadine will take us through how to become a fellow. Dr. Damien Echendu will take us through the benefits of fellowship. Just in case you're here and you're wondering why exactly you have to go through all of this process to become a fellow, you get all that information by the end of this session. Dr. Marici will take us through the step-by-step process of registration so that if you want to go through this process, you already have all the information you need. It will not be difficult for you. And Dr. Jerome will take us through the special category fellowship. Just in case you're not in clinical practice, there are a lot of ways to go about it to become a fellow. So Dr. Jerome will take us through that. And at the end of that, we'll have a Q&A session where if you have any question, you can just maybe post it in the chat box or unmute and ask, and you definitely get all the answers that you need. And the president of the African chapter will give us the closing remarks. And as said earlier, we will take a closing prayer by any Christian among us. So let's get started. So before we get to how to become a fellow, which Dr. Bernadine is going to take us through, I would like to ask, is there any Muslim among us who would like to say the opening prayer for us? Any Muslim among us, please?
I can take.
Okay, Muhammad, kindly take it away.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العظيم. That is it. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Mohammed. We really appreciate that. So, to take us through how to become a fellow, Dr. Bernadine Ekpenyo, I hope I pronounced that correctly. So she'll be taking us through that. Dr. Bernadine is an optometrist and a public health practitioner. She's an associate professor at the Department of Public Health at the University of Calabar, Nigeria. She's a fellow of the Academy and also the treasurer of the African chapter of the AAO. She's also the CEO of Benita Eye Clinic in Calabar. And she's widely traveled with many publications to her credit. So if you can unmute and give her a clap, or if you can just show a reaction, can we please invite Dr. Bernadine to take us through how to become a fellow of the AAO?
Thank you very much, Acentua. If you would stop sharing, I would like to share my screen.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I've already been introduced. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining from. I'll be talking to you today about how to become a fellow. And like already introduced, I'm a fellow of the Academy, and we're happy to share the procedure and the process of becoming a fellow. Okay, so who is eligible to apply for fellow of the Academy? Optometrists who are licensed or accredited to practice at the highest level permitted by law in their jurisdiction. For example, in Nigeria, you need to have your Doctor of Optometry degree before you qualify to apply. In some countries, you need a BSc. So whatever is the highest level permitted by your law, to practice. Be an optometrist who is a scientist, could be an educator, librarian, administrator, editors who have accredited themselves and optometry by their contributions to optometry of vision sciences. So, which if you have all of it, then you are qualified to apply. So there are 3 types of candidacy for the academy. We have the clinical candidates, scientific candidates, and the special category candidates. So clinical candidates are mostly for optometrists who are engaged in active clinical practice. If you're engaged in active clinical practice, then this is the path you should take. Then you have the scientific candidates. These are those primarily involved in research relating to vision sciences, especially those who are in the academics. They have published articles in scientific journals and generally have an advanced degree in the vision science area of the discipline. Then the third category is reserved for those candidates who are not in active clinical practice or participating in publishable scientific research, who have distinguished themselves and optometry by their contributions to optometry and vision science. You can see there is opportunity for everyone, depending on what you're doing. If you're not in clinical practice and you are occupying a position, or an administrative position, you have a place. If you're also in academia and you're not fully in clinical practice, you also can be a fellow. So we're going to discuss each of them one after the other on what it takes for each of the categories. So for the clinical candidates, you need 50 points. In fact, for all the 3 categories, you need 50 points. And to earn the 50 points, you need different things to add up to the 50 points. So for the clinical candidates, the 50 points you require can come from case reports. Case reports has a total of 10 points. And then at least 1 is required for clinical candidates. Even if you have other things that can make up 10 points, a case report must be part of it. So, and then case reports are reviewed by plagiarism software. We'll talk more on this. Then you can also get another point from residency or other graduate to professional degree, which will give you 20 points. That means if you have postgraduate degree in vision sciences or in public health, you can get 20 points from that. And that has to be from an accredited university. The admittance committee would have to verify that before that point is given to you. Then publications, you need 10 points. These publications must come from high impact factor review journals. So, and for you to get the 10 points. So you can also get 10 points from posters and papers. If you have presented any poster presentation at the Academy or any other international conferences or any other accredited conference, you can get 10 points from there. You have done lecture presentation at conferences. You can also get 10 points from that. Leadership contribution, you can get 10 points from that. And professionally related books, if you have published a book, you can get 20 points from that. And for all of these, it is at the discretion of the committee, admittance committee, to verify and confirm that they are fully accredited before you get the points from this. So that's how you can get your 50 points. But if you do not have any additional degree and you do not have any publication or have leadership contribution you can write about, nor do you have a book, that means you're going to have 10 case reports. 10 case reports will give you the 50 points that you require. If you do not have any other, you can get any other point from the other listed criteria listed here. So for the scientific candidates, like I said, you also require 50 points. You can get that at least you need to be first author in 3 publications. For you to go this route, at least 3 first authored publications are required prior to applying for this fellowship for the scientific candidates. So if you have 3 first author publication in peer-reviewed journal, that gives you 30 points already. And then if you also have a postgraduate degree, that gives you 20 points. So you already have 50 points for your, but if you do not have a postgraduate degree and you have done poster presentations or paper presentation at conferences, that gives you 10 points. Then you have done lecture at conferences, that gives you another 10 points. Leadership contribution will give you 10 points. We'll talk more on what it's about. And then professionally related books, 20 points. So you can see that if you're in the academia and you have done a lot of publications in review journals and you have done paper presentations and all, it's easy for you to get your fellowship in 1 year. So these special category candidates also require 50 points. These are optometrists who have talked about it, who have distinguished themselves, who have occupied administrative positions. So you can decide to just write a 6,000 word paper. That gives you your 50 points straight up. And that will be a newly written paper based on this for this purpose. Or you write a 1,200 words paper, that gives you 10 points. And then you add on with other things to make up the 50 points. You have residency or other graduate or professional degree, that will give you 20 points. If you have publications in peer-reviewed journals, that gives you another 10 points. Posters and papers, if you have done that in conferences, international conferences mostly, that gives you another 10 points. Then if you have also done lecture in conferences, that's another 10 points. Leadership contribution also has maximum of 10 points. Professionally related books, if you have published any, that's 20 points. Synopsis of 5 consultative services, 10 points each. And a synopsis of educational work, coursework, given. That's another 10 points. So for you to qualify for this category, at least one original paper, either 1,200 or 6,000 words is required. Then types of works that you need to submit. We have the case report. Case report must be of a patient that the candidate has managed after graduation in optometry, not before then. And then also, if you're doing residency program in accredited program, and you have also done a case report, it may also count. So their case reports should be representative of the patients you care for on a daily basis, reflects different aspects of your optometric practice. You have to ensure that you have managed this patient entirely yourself or co-managed to conclusion. You may have managed this patient with another colleague or an ophthalmologist, as the case may be. So you don't have to be you alone. But if you have managed that patient alone, that's also permitted. So note, all case reports are checked for plagiarism upon submission. For instance, with writing your case report, visit the case report guideline web page on the Academy website. So we will also organize another workshop, another webinar on case report writing. And then you're also encouraged to also read up to help yourself by reading through the guidelines on the Academy website. For publications, candidate must be first author. Those publications, for those who are going for scientific candidates category, we expect that the three publications you're going to submit, or even if you want to submit a publication for your clinical route, you have to be first author in that publication. Article must be submitted in one of the approved publications listed on the Academy website. Articles over 10 years old acceptable, but could require additional information updates. You can mute your mic if you're not presenting. Okay, so for posters and papers, the poster and paper must be, you must be a first author and presented after OD or equivalent graduation. If you have done a poster presentation before graduation, that will not count. So it has to be publication or poster presentation or oral presentation you did at a conference, accredited conferences after graduation. Papers and posters from the following meetings are eligible for points. These are some of the meetings that are accredited for inclusion, and more could be, but it is all at the discretion of the admittance committee to see if the conference is not listed, and they can accredit it for acceptance. This was a poster presentation at Indy 2024. So Academy lecture, a unique lecture given within the past 10 years at an Academy annual meeting will attract 10 points. Must be sole presenter of a 1-hour lecture or presenter for at least 1 hour of a 2-hour lecture. So grand rounds presentations do not count towards this requirement. So it must be an oral presentation you have done for an hour, or if you are doing that with a co-presenter, you would have done for an hour also before that 10 points would count. This is our president presenting a paper during the VOSH meeting. Residency to degree. A residency program accredited by the Academy Accreditation Education Board is eligible, the ACOE will be able to accredit your residency program before the points would count. A graduate degree beyond the OD degree that is relatable to optometric practice or research, example, an advanced degree in vision science or MPH from an accredited university, would count for the 10 points, will count for the 20 points required for your candidacy application. So for leadership contribution, points for leadership will only be awarded for activities at the national and state level outside of the scope of the candidate's regular compensated position. Must receive approval from your subcommittee chair first before you proceed to write the 1,200 essay that is required. And during the next webinar, when we will be talking on the different writing works, we will also explain more on this leadership contribution, because it also attracts 10 points, not the work that you have done based on your regular work, but other activities you have carried out, leadership positions you have carried, and the impact you have made as a leader in those activities. Written up in 1,200 words are some of the things required for that 10 points. So, professionally related book. A book published in one or more of the following or similar types of professionally related books: applied sciences, optometric education, optometric management, clinical optometry. When multiple authored published books are submitted for credit, an explanation of the candidate's role in writing the book is required. So if the book is over 10 years old, it may be acceptable, but a paper describing what changes have taken place on the topic since it was published may also be requested. So the committee would also confirm if this book will be accredited for the points or not. So after you have done all of that, for you to appear for your oral interview, you need to review all the documents you submitted. This is very important, whether you're doing the clinical, scientific, or special category candidate. You need to review your submissions for your interview. There is oral interview for everyone, irrespective of your category. So after you're ready, you will schedule, and you have done all the necessary submission, you schedule for next available oral interview. After your interview, you're successful, you'll be given a yellow ribbon. You can see Minority optometrists and our president and Godwin in a picture during the Indy when she got. So all our candidates who became fellow had that after the interview. So the resources you need on how to earn your FAO title, because once you have passed your oral interview, you are now qualified to use that title FAO after your name. So you need to go to the Academy website, read the case report guidelines, read the AVSL AAO Information Resource Hub, then the virtual case report workshops, and that we will be also organizing, then annual meeting information sections. So all this would help you. You can see Justin as one of the recipients of the FAAO during the Indy 2024, receiving his certificates. So the important dates you should have in mind while you're doing. That's why we decided to conduct this now, because the time is really running very fast. So by February 1st, deadline for submitting first case report for clinical candidates. So that means that immediately after this, if you're interested, you should hit on and register and start writing up, because you need to submit your first case report by February 1st. By April 1st is deadline for second case report. April 15th, any remaining case reports needed to certify the 50 points should have been submitted. That's all other written requirements and materials are due by that time. So July 15th is deadline for submitting any required corrections, so modifications to the submitted work. So as you submit your work, the subcommittee will review it and send it back to you for correction, and you have to also resubmit it after correction before you submit the next one. And then by August 15, it's the deadline for notifying the vice chair of the admittance to schedule you for the oral examination. So if you're hoping to be a fellow by 2025 in Boston, then you must make sure you meet up with these dates and deadlines. So the candidate dues and fees. The candidate membership dues are set on a tiered scale based on OD graduation year. There is a one-time $60 application fee waiver for current students to resident members. And also for those who applied at the academy during the NG 2024, the $60 application fee was also waived. And so it's important that this is one of the things you need to pay for. Then if you are from a low income or low middle income country, per the World Bank Index, please contact the membership at aaoptom.org or the African chapter for assistance with dues processing. Because last year we got a real waiver for registration. We'll also need to confirm if that continues for the year or not. So that inquiry will be given to us by the president of the chapter. Now, additional information. All requirements must be completed within 3 years of the initial application. So if you applied in 2024, you still have 2025 and 2026 to complete. If you're going to apply in 2025, you have 2026 and 2027 to complete your application. So candidates that are in good standing but have not completed the process within the time frame may reapply for candidacy after a 1-year period of time. So we have some people who are in this category, those who applied for a long time now and 3 years has passed and has not submitted any written work. So what that means is that after 1 year, you will need to now reapply afresh because the 3 years has elapsed. All written work is expected to be the candidate's own original writing. Plagiarism may cause the candidate's application for fellowship to be